Joining us now, Sean Spicer. Well, you know, Sean Spicer's been around a very long time. He was the first best Trump press briefing secretary. Might have been the best presidential press secretary of all time. Plus, he got a new book out, The Briefing. Got to read that. Get it at your favorite bookstore. Or so. You can get it by going to my website, johnfredericksradio.com. It's right there. And he's joining us now. He's now a senior advisor to America First Policies. Sean Spicer, great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I think I need you as my publicist. That was fantastic. Thank you.
I know, you're the man. I always tell the story that the most fun I ever had was going to your press briefings. It was so much fun and so informative. And like I did my whole show based on it. Like I didn't have to do anything else but go back and write it up. And there was my whole show for the following day. You gave so much information out. Now we don't have them. I think Sarah has one every, 6 months now? I can't remember the last time. I don't even think she has them anymore. But they were very informative and a lot of fun. And you did a great job. But you got to read his book. It's so great, The Briefing. And you can just go to my website. That's the easiest thing to do, johnfredericksradio.com. It's right there, big ad for it. Click on it, and it'll give you an option, Amazon or any of your favorite bookstores. You buy it, you're good. You're good to go. Sean, man, we got a lot going on right now. The president over in the United Kingdom. But the biggest thing is a lot of debate about his tariff plan with Mexico. And what I'm trying to explain to people is he didn't do this so he can raise tariff money to the Treasury. He did this to get the Mexican government to the table to help solve this crisis we're having at the border. And yet the fake news, a legacy media, is totally lying about this as they do about everything. What is your reaction to what the president is attempting to do with the government of Mexico?
Well, you just summed up. He's using this as an opportunity to get them to the table. And the irony of the coverage is that it works, right? It's not just that he's using it. The Mexican government sent a delegation to the United States right away to negotiate. And so for years you had presidents, administrations, and other government officials talking about the problem we have at the southern border. This president said enough is enough, I'm going to act. And here we are. They're sending a delegation immediately to say, all right, we get it, we'll solve the problem. So it's ironic the amount of hand-wringing that goes on about his actions, but never about the results that he gets.
Well, they immediately came to the table, and now they're negotiating. Before he threatened the tariffs, they weren't. And we're getting 300,000 people a month trying to cross the southern border. We apprehended 100,000 of them in May. Everybody knows that 2 out of the 3 that come over don't get apprehended. That's been about the average for the past 5-year period. So if you catch 1, 3 you don't. So that's 300,000 people. You times that by 12 months, that's 3.6 million illegals coming into the United States. In 1 year, you can't sustain a country this way, and they're coming up from Guatemala. A poll was done. I want you to comment on this. 40% of Guatemalans saying they would like to come and find a way to get into the United States. That's 40% of an entire country. How do you possibly stop that?
Well, you don't. I mean, I got to be honest with you, John. You're trying to make sense of something that frankly doesn't. This idea of protecting the border, making sure that we have a system of laws and do this in a proper, prudent way, is something that shouldn't be political. I mean, this is an insane conversation to have because the same people that are now opposing it were very much in favor of it up until the election of this current president. So I think that we're trying to make sense of something which does not make sense, and that's the challenge.
Sean, I want to get to America First Policies. There was a very negative piece done on it the other day in the Washington Examiner criticizing the organization that you represent right now as one of the senior policy advisors. I think it was in the Washington Examiner. I know we talked about it a little bit, so I want to set the record straight on it. And I just have to tell you that I get all the America First Policies people on my show. I've done it since their inception. I've been to rallies where I've had the opportunity to MC and introduce the Vice President of the United States during the tax cut battle. I've got nothing from American First Policies, the number one PAC, from the president, but professionalism and trying to get things done and working hard on behalf of the president, including yourself and Corey and now Linda McMahon and so many others, Curtis Ellis. They all come on my show every single week. What is the problem that some of these people have with, your organization, other Trump people. Why do we have this? I mean, you guys are doing a great job.
Well, thank you. I agree. And I think part of the reason we have it is because there's a lot of ideas out there that you've got a lot of people, part of the ecosystem, if you will, of support for the president who have their idea of what everybody else should be doing. And so let me just dial it back. Our entire goal is to raise money and spend it in support of the president and his policy. And there is no question. Last cycle, we raised and spent $75 million, supporting his policies. You mentioned the tax cuts, his judicial nominations, all of these other things. And then, oh, by the way, helping to support candidates that will support his agenda. There is no other organization that's done that. Right now, we're on pace to raise well over $250 million in support of, and that's the only goal, right? I mean, when you stop and say, what is the purpose of this organization, is to raise money and then make sure we're spending it in support of the agenda, the policies, and the people who support it, and that's absolutely what it's done. The other thing to keep in context, John, is it's never been done before. So everybody's got a million ideas about how it should be run. And you'll note in that organization, for an organization that raises this much money, we get 8 people on staff. That's it, 8. It runs lean and mean under the direction of Brian Walsh, and now Linda McMahon is chair. And so it actually does great stuff. But I think that, like any other organization, there's always the detractors out there. And it would be much more helpful for the president and his policies if we could get people all on board as opposed to taking mindless pot shots.
Well, look, it is the only political action committee in America that's America First Policies and America First Policies Action that is aligned and supported by the president. It is his PAC. Now, it's independent, obviously, of the campaign. It has to operate that way. But for our listeners, I mean, I probably, since its inception, I don't know, I've had probably 200 interviews with America First Policy senior advisors. And so you guys are doing something. And then you go back to what I think you said earlier, Sean. You said it's about results, right? Well, you spent a lot of time and energy on the tax cuts. You got those through, and then they were successful as a linchpin of the campaign in 2018, trying to beat back the Democratic lies. You spent a lot of effort on the Kavanaugh. He was successfully confirmed. You're spending now a tremendous effort on USMCA. That is going to get confirmed. So you've had a string of successes. So the pot shots that have been taken at you guys, I think, are off base, sad, really a disservice to what you're doing and to what all we're trying to do. What everybody's goal is supposed to be here is to get the president reelected, right or wrong.
Right. Yep. That's 100% right. And to your point, I mean, you actually look at the ads that are being run in support of the policies and the people, right? The judicial nominations being some of the people that we've been out there supporting. And as we head into this stretch after the fall, we're trying to pass the new NAFTA 2.0 USMCA that, frankly, will do a lot for America's farmers, ranchers, service providers, manufacturers, auto workers. This is something that us being at the forefront of and getting out there and pushing through and explaining to people, because frankly, it is I say this as a former guy that did trade work, that it's not always the most exciting topic in the world, but right. We got to get out there and explain to people why this is going to benefit them and what a success it's been for the president on behalf of the American people. So like I said, I just think that it's unwarranted and it's silly, and it's also, more importantly, it's a distraction from keeping our eye on the prize.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. I've only got another 2 minutes with Sean Spicer, Senior Advisor, America First Policies. Sean, impeachment. I ran an interview yesterday with Senator from Louisiana, Senator Kennedy, who's one of my favorite people.
God, I was going to say I could listen to that guy most of the day.
He's so funny. And he said, what the Democrats need to do is they need to go to Amazon and buy a spine. And either you're going to start impeachment or not, or shut up or get off the pot. What are they going to do with this?
I don't know. I think he's right. I mean, this is the problem. They want to flirt with it, but then they don't want to actually do anything about it. So this is where they are tied. The hardcore left of their base wants this badly. They recognize politically they're screwed if they move forward. And that's the conundrum they're in. They recognize that the short-term gain of appeasing a bunch of crazy leftists will not politically benefit them in the upcoming election. So they are, I think, trying to figure out how to thread that needle.
We're out of time. I know, Sean, you're making a speech at 9:30. Thanks for being with us. Sean Spicer, he is
John,
Senior Policy Advisor, America First Policies, and I'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.